Hello, I'm Darren again. Today's topic is discussing the devouring mother. Now, although Carl Jung didn't use the term explicitly, the term devouring mother is often discussed in the context of psychoanalysis and Jungian psychology. It can be related to his broader ideas about archetypes and the collective unconscious. But it's an expression that's used to describe certain patterns and behaviours observed in a parent's relationship with their child or children. While it is traditionally associated with mothers, fathers, or other caregivers can exhibit similar behaviours that often end up causing emotional and psychological harm to the child. But the idea of the devouring mother represents an overbearing, controlling, and suffocating parent figure. It's typically linked to the idea of maternal love becoming so engulfing that it hinders a child's development and independence. So the parent can be overly controlling, overly protective, neglectful, exploitative, or stifling towards their child. And this can hinder the child's development as they impose their desires and their expectations onto the child, limiting their autonomy and sense of self. And what we often see in a relationship between a devouring parent and their child are a lack of boundaries, lack of healthy boundaries, sometimes referred to as enmeshment. The boundaries are maybe blurred, ever shifting, or non existent, and this can lead to an emotional dependence and a sense of not being able to function autonomously. And there are different kinds of devouring parent. Firstly, there would be the overly controlling parent. Now, this is not the same as being strict, because the discipline can be harsh, unfair, and often inconsistent, usually depending on the mood of the parent. But this parent can be judgmental, critical, and demeaning towards the child. They make all the decisions, all the choices for the child, regardless of those choices or what age the child is. They control the child through knowing what's best. The child isn't allowed to make mistakes and learns to seek approval or permission for everything. This parent can be stubborn, harsh, overly critical, with little or no praise. They can be cold, unkind, or subject the child to cruel humour. So the child learns a distorted version of what love is, and that love is conditional. So the child feels like they can never do enough or be enough. As the child grows older, they could be led to believe they're being controlled out of love for their own good. And they don't get to learn how to grow from mistakes. They can struggle with decision making for fear of making the wrong choice. They also struggle with autonomy and agency. Secondly, there's the parent who over-nurtures. They spoil the child, give them everything they want because they believe they deserve the best. This parent thinks they're being loving by not wanting the child to experience any kind of emotional discomfort. But the child doesn't learn how to manage their expectations. It fosters a sense of entitlement. They always get their own way, so don't learn things like give and take. They also don't learn resilience to things like disappointment or delayed gratification. When the parent sorts everything out, does everything, gives everything to the child, it robs them of their ability to learn how to problem solve, how to negotiate with the world around them. But this parent, I think, is confused about what love really is, and the child can grow up to be narcissistic. Then there's the overly protective parent. It's like they wrap the child in cotton wool. Everything is a threat. Everything is a potential risk, a potential danger. They don't allow the child to explore the world around them, make independent decisions, which can lead to feelings of suffocation and an inability to develop their own identity. The child might not be allowed to mix with other kids or play outside out of fear of them falling over or getting into a fight. They are constantly worried about their child. Now, they might scour the internet looking up symptoms the child is exhibiting or looking for things to protect the child from. There could be regular visits to the doctor just so that they can feel reassured, but they rarely are. In reality, this isn't really care, this isn't really love, this is more about their own issues. In some cases, can also be a way of gaining attention for being seen as a concerned parent. And in some cases, this kind of parent could exhibit behaviours associated with Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and I've made a video on that previously if you want to watch that for further information. But next, there's the neglectful parent. This parent puts their own needs, their own wants, their own desires before the child. They might be constantly unavailable, they might be at work, they might be always on social media. They could be paying a lot of attention to other people but ignoring the child. But this kind of parents, they tend to be obsessed with themselves, their job, their career, their image, social status. It's like the child is a burden to them, holding them back or distracting them somehow. As that child grows older, they might become withdrawn, become overly independent, learn not to ask for anything or rely on anyone. Or they might act out, they might become disruptive. Bad attention is better than none at all. Next, there's the neurotic parent. They inappropriately overshare all of their problems, their issues, their pains, everything that's going on with them, and the child has to find a way to reassure them, comfort them, sort things out for them. If you will, the child is responsible for the parent. They dump all of their issues onto the child, maybe expect them to behave like their therapist. This is typically the kind of person for whom every solution will have a problem, every silver lining will have a cloud, and every goal is unreachable. They can be envious of others, believe everything is stacked against them, they're always being treated unfairly, and they want the child to collude with them. They must like what the parent likes and hate what the parent hates. They expect the child to behave, act, and think like an adult, and in some cases, be a surrogate partner. And lastly, there is the parent who lives vicariously through the children or use the child as a way to validate themselves publicly. The child must behave a certain way, dress a certain way, say certain things to validate their beliefs, their lifestyle. They might even push the child into a direction to try to gain them some fame, some kind of attention. Parade them at social events, on social media, how clever they are, how talented they are, how the child's values reinforce theirs. And quite commonly, the child is only really repeating phrases or performing in a way that they've been taught to. But it's all about the parent. The child is of value because the child brings them value from others. So there are just some different kinds of the devouring mother, but as I said earlier, some dads can be every bit as devouring. But generally, this is a parent who is dysfunctional, possessive, detached from reality. They're self-absorbed and exert control over their children just to meet their own needs. They consume their children emotionally and psychologically, instilling helplessness, guilt, fear, shame, and often robbing them of their own identity and stifling their growth as individuals. And in some cases, they do this out of a misguided sense of what they think love is. And children in families like this can grow up with a lot of anger towards their parents. They can struggle with self-confidence, self-esteem, and have difficulties forming and maintaining healthy relationships. They can second-guess themselves, find it difficult to make decisions. In some cases, they might have difficulty experiencing any kind of joy or satisfaction in activities, achievements, or experiences that would typically be enjoyable to most people. Now, it is crucial to understand that in real-life relationships, these things are complex, multifaceted. Individual circumstances and dynamics can vary significantly, but there are many examples of the devouring mother found in literature and even in mythology. But two examples that come to mind would be, first of all, the book Mommy Dearest by Christina Crawford. Now, that's based on the relationship between actress Joan Crawford and her daughter. There is also a movie based on the book. But another example would be Penny Fleck, the mother of Arthur Fleck in the 2019 movie Joker. But there are two different examples of the devouring mother if you want to watch or read either of those. But that's the concept of the devouring mother and just some of the different ways that they can psychologically and emotionally devour their children. As always, if there's anything I haven't added, anything I've missed, anything you might like to add, please feel free to use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversations that start from these videos. But if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.